Hi, welcome to Master Control's Workshop channel. Today I'm going to focus on picking the right piece of wood for your project. I will show you how to listen to the wood so you will know you have the right piece of wood. I will explain the difference between softwood and hardwood lumber and even how to determine the moisture content at the time the lumber was surfaced. Knowing the difference in your lumber can mean the difference between a side table that looks great and one that starts to warp before long. You probably found this video because you want to learn more about woodworking. You might be wondering if you can do it yourself. You might be even asking yourself, do I have the right tools? Or even, do I have the right skills? Well, your skills will grow over time and with trial and error. Plus, I will be creating videos that may be helpful in the future. Keep in mind that your tools do not have to be expensive. Starting out, make it simple and grow with each new tool and project. Now keep in mind, I have 20 years plus experience, but even I started out with simple tools, a skill saw, a hammer, a screwdriver, a cheap portable table saw that I moved around in my shed, and a handful of cheap tools in that shed. As the years went on, I grew and learned more about each tool through each project. Eventually, I had to build a full workshop, as you see today, to hold all my new tools and create Master Control's Workshop. This is where I build all kinds of workshop projects, from furniture to exotic wood, Lexan, and leather paddles. Please make sure to subscribe, like, or even better, leave a comment if you want a question answered in the next set of videos. Listening to the wood. Trees do a great job by growing my material for my projects, and wind and rain and the sun help shape the wood to give it character. You have to work what the tree gave you in the plank of wood. You have to compromise and bend it into the project with your tools. I find every project gives you a challenge, and you will too, but that is part of the creative process. The unpredictability of the outcome only makes the whole process even more fascinating. I look for wood that talks to me in that project. It talks to us through the grain, the color, the texture, and the strength of the wood. Please remember to have fun. It is about creativity and problem solving and organizing a project to completion. It should not become a burden. Now let's look at common lumber defects that you might have in wood. Both softwood and hardwood lumber will have defects because the way the tree it came from grew, or how it was machined through the mill processing. Be on the lookout for the common defects. You have bowed wood, warp on the face of the board from end to end. You have cup, which allows a hollow across the face of the whole entire board. You have a split, which is a crack that's going all the way through the wood. You have a crook, which is warp along the edge and also on the crown. You have a twist, which is warping the lumber where the ends twist on the opposite directions. Kind of like this piece of wood. You have a check, which is a crack along the wood's growth rings. You have a shake, which is a separation of the grains between the growth rings, often extending along the board surface and sometimes below its surface. You have a wane, which is a missing wood or trim bark along the edge or the corner of a piece. And finally, you have knots and knot holes. Tight knots are usually not a problem. They stay there. Loose knots may fall out and affect the integrity of the wood. Why does wood move and warp? Well, wood is a breathing thing. It's made up of fibers that are basically shaped like straws that run the length of the grain. These fibers suck up and expel the moisture through the air. Think of it like a collection of straws that behave like a sponge. When a dry sponge is small and compact, a large one is swollen. When it contains moisture, it will be larger. However, in wood, it doesn't move in the same direction. So let's discuss the types of lumber. There are two types of lumber, softwoods and hardwoods. Softwood lumber comes from conifer trees like pine, fir, spruce, and cedar. These woods get their classification for a reason. They can easily be dented with just your fingernail. And keep in mind, they have to be hardened if you want to stain it or it'll be blotchy. Softwood lumber also absorbs and loses moisture and much easier than hardwood. So extra care must be taken to maintain the wood stability over its lifetime. Softwood lumber is cheaper because conifer trees grow faster than hardwoods. Now let's talk about hardwood lumber. Hardwood lumber comes from deciduous trees, which can have a broad leaves in the fall in the cold months. The most common trees you'll see in hardwood lumber are oak, maple, walnut, hickory, and mahogany, which is my favorite. And as you can gather from the name, most hardwoods are harder than softwoods, and they aren't as easily dented. Hardwood trees take much longer to grow to maturity, so the lumber they're turned into is much more expensive than softwood variety. Consequently, hardwood is typically used in fine woodworking, furniture construction, cabinetry, and flooring. If you want to get into woodworking, you'll primarily be using hardwoods. Big box stores don't stock much of it though, so you'll have to visit a specialty woodworking store, a lumber yard, or your local sawmill to purchase it. The type of wood. Wood types provide different needs depending on your project. You need to look at it for strength and beauty. If you want something to last, use hardwood. If you want a cheap and simple wood, you can use pine, which is a softwood. But these both have their pros and cons. You need to know what your finishing will be before you choose the wood. If you're going to paint it, the grain is less important. So use a softwood like pine. If you love the grain and will stain it, then focus on the grain and use a hardwood. Choosing a good wood. I personally go to a small sawmill locally. Let's compare the places you can buy wood. A big box store like Lowe's or Home Depot, they have nice pieces of wood when you're in the store, but when you bring it home, you may watch it warp because they process their wood with a higher water level content. And so when it starts to dry, it can warp. Specialty wood stores offer better wood, but check the moisture. May have exotic woods, and the stores that you might like on there are Woodcrafter or Rockler. Lumber yards. Here you're going to find a large selection, but they may not have exotic hardwoods. Sawmills. I buy my wood from several places, but my local sawmill is Hobby Hardwood, Alabama, in Newmarket, Alabama. The wood I get there is carefully managed to ensure the water content is low, and I rarely get a warped piece of wood. Now, choosing the right cut, let's choose either quarter sawn or rift sawn, which are both the most stable cuts. Flat sawn, which is the most common, is the least stable. How to keep your boards straight after you purchase them. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. It is no different in woodworking. Keep the wood in a climate-controlled place. Ultimately, purchase a moisture meter so it can help you ensure that you can check the moisture content of newly bought wood against that of some that you already have in your shop. You can apply a finish to them, whether it is latex paint, polyurethane, wax, linseed oil, and after using them on your project. Just make it difficult for moisture to enter. So make sure that you coat the whole board at least once and the end grains multiple times if you can do so. This will save your planks for a longer period of time. This is because most moisture enters and exits from the end of the board grain and is where the wood and straws start and stop. So that's it. This is a comprehensive but practical overview of how to buy good lumber for your project and keep it in good condition. I hope you like my handy tips and maybe learn a couple of things. Check out our channel for new videos as they come out. I'll be working on some cool and unique projects you probably won't see anywhere else. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, and most importantly, if you have a question or would like to see something else, leave a comment so I can answer them in future videos. Now remember, stay safe and always measure twice and cut once.